Okay, next we want to look at runtime data. So we've shown how to display build time data like we've done here. Now let's see if we can add a link here that fetch more jokes in runtime. So the first thing that we need to note here is that the new Dev UI is not reloading web pages, and it's not doing HTTP post or HTTP get. We use JSON RPC over WebSockets to call methods on the server and update the DOM. So you'll see that the page never needs to be refreshed. So the first thing that you need to do is to define your JSON RPC endpoint, and for that we'll add a new build step, again only if it's development, and we'll reply with this build item called JSON RPC provider build item. Again, the name here is the same name that you've used here, which is the same name as the name of your extension inside the YAML file. Right, so in my case jokes. And then I just need to provide the class that will be the provider of JSON RPC methods. This class then is a normal class. You don't have to scope it. By default we will make it an application scope bean. If you do scope it, we'll use the scope that you've provided. And any public method in this class that returns data will be available on the JavaScript or the component side to use. So now that I've defined this method, I can start adding methods to this. So we'll start off with a really basic one, and we'll just have a method that gets a joke. We won't go into detail on how we fetch this joke. We actually use some service on the internet that provide these jokes. But the bottom line is that I create some joke, Pojo, and I return the joke. So that's all I need on the Java side. Now in my component, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to import JSON RPC from JSON RPC. This is a class that is inside Dev UI and is made available for you to use. And you will then construct it or create an instance of it like this, and this name is the name of your extension, the one that you've used, so that we can tie them together. So what we probably want to do is we'll start off by adding a link at the bottom of this list. So here I'll add a link, normal A, but I won't give it an href. I'll give it a click, and that click then points to some method that will be called once you click this, and then we'll say more. So there will be a more link at the bottom. We probably want to style that element just to give it change the pointer so that you can see that you can click it. Now we need that method that fetch more data. So we'll create a method here, fetch more data. Now this is where you can then use your JSON RPC. So you can say this JSON RPC, and now you can call the method as it is on here. Right, so that method there, I will put in here, .getJoke, and what it returns is a promise. So then you can say then, and it returns a JSON RPC response that we now want to do something with. In our case, all that we want to do is we want to add the result of that JSON RPC to our list of jokes. So we want to take our list of jokes and add the result to it. So we add one more joke to it. What we'll also do is we'll add a header here and we'll display the number of jokes that we have, which means we now need a new variable called number of jokes, which we'll add to our properties here, and we'll initiate it with the initial length that we get from the server, from the build time data, which is 10 jokes. So initially there will be 10 jokes, and as we increase the jokes, we'll add that number up. And then the last thing that we want to do is we want to just display some message to indicate that we're busy fetching a joke. So we'll add another property called message, like that, and we'll set the message to fetching new joke as soon as we start the fetching of the joke, and once we have the joke, we'll reset that to null. And then we want to display it on the screen somewhere. So what we'll do is we'll just add a list item here. So it's easier to just extract this to its own method. So here we'll just say, okay, and also call this method here, and that method will just conditionally return some HTML. So if there is a message, we'll return a list item with that message. Fairly simple. Let's see how this looks like. Okay, so I've rebuilt the extension and restarted my application, and there you can see the more button that we've added, and the cursor changed to a pointer. And if I click it, that message says fetching new joke until it finds the joke, and then it adds that joke to the list, which is what we've done there. Right, so that works pretty easy. And this is now making a JSON RPC call to your server over WebSocket, and once we get the joke, we'll stream it back to the server. Just a note, the lit documentation is really good. So if you just go to lit.dev and to their documentation, you can read up all the things that you can do with lit.